Welcome to this video tutorial of the heart. So the main objective for today, we are going to describe the structure of the heart. Okay, we are going to state various functions of the heart. So in this lecture, we are going to specifically look at the external part of the heart. Then we're going to the internal part of the heart. Then from there, we're going to look at the cardiac muscle in preparation for the cardiovascular system. Okay, so we need to look at the external part of the heart. What are the external part of the heart that we can see if at all we remove the heart out of the a human body? So in the heart, you must know to say that the function of the heart is to pump blood. Okay. And in physiology, we say structure determines function. So we need to look at various parts of the heart that make it enable to pump blood. Okay. So we have four major chambers of the heart. We have the right atrium, we have the left atrium, we have the right ventricle, and we have the left ventricle. Okay. Now, it's very much important for someone to note that the heart has two major functions or circulations. Okay. So we say the heart has dual circulation. What do we mean by the heart that's dual circulation? That simply means to say that we have two processes occurring at once. So the first process is that the heart pumps deoxygenated blood distributed or sent to the lungs for purification because this was collected. Then the other one is that the left side of the heart, that was the right side of the heart, the bluish coloration, but the left side of the heart, what it does is that it actually distribute oxygenated blood from the lungs. Okay, it gets this blood from the lungs and distribute it across the entire body. Okay, from there, we must know to say that the dual circulation of the heart is number one, we have the pulmonary circulation, which we describe to say that the pulmonary circulation is specifically involved in the deoxygenated blood. Okay, this blood has been used up by the body system and body tissues. What do we want? We want this blood to be purified. That is the right side of the heart. Okay, what does the left side of the heart does is that it does systemic circulation. Systemic circulation is that it distributes, or rather we can say it receives the oxygenated blood from the lungs. Okay, then distribute it across the body using the aorta. And what does the deoxygenated use? This side we use the pulmonary artery. Therefore, since blood from the lungs comes back to the atrium using pulmonary vein, and we say that the function, we can say that veins always pumps blood away from the heart. Okay, veins pumps blood away from the heart. So this is the only vein that carries oxygenated blood. We must take note. And this pulmonary artery is the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood. So this pulmonary trunk is further divided into left pulmonary trunk arteries, which is going to the left side of the lung, and the right pulmonary arteries, which is going to send blood to the right side of the lungs. Okay, it's going to send this blood to the right lung so that it can be purified. Okay, and How does blood come to the uh, right atrium? Blood, mind you, should come first in the right atrium. Blood comes in the right atrium using the superior vena cava. Superior vena cava. This superior vena cava gets blood from the head, from the upper extremities. Okay. Then we have what we call the inferior vena cava. This one carries blood from the lower extremities so that they can be oxygenated. Okay. So having said that, let's look the internal parts of the heart. So what does the internal part of the heart comprise? So in the internal part of the heart, we just want now to explore this heart in more detail. So in the understanding of the cardiovascular system, it will require us to have the background on how the hearts function and everything. Okay. So when we're talking about cardiovascular, we are talking about how does the heart work in contribution to blood pressure, okay, or everything. How does the stroke volume per minute, that is amount of blood that is uh, um, pumped per minute, comparing together to form the cardiac output. Okay, so we need to look at how does everything okay. So now, when you look at the heart, it is just the internal. I was explaining the internal structure of the heart that was outside. So those chambers you are not seeing clearly. I said we received oxygenated blood from the upper extremities, the hands and the upper extremities, the hands, the head. Okay, we receive them in the right atrium. From the superior vena cava, blood need to be drained in the right atrium. Then from the right atrium, then this blood is going to be drained in the right ventricle. Okay, right ventricle. Then from here, that is when it's going to be pumped or sent to the lungs through the pulmonary artery. So let's look at this sequence. The way, how does this sequence run? So all that blood that is coming from the head, that is coming from the hands, is going to come, okay, using superior vena cava. Okay, then it will come in the right atrium. From the right atrium, just before it goes into the right ventricle, there is a valve here. This valve is similar to the valve that is found on the left, since this is the atrium and this is the atrium. So this valve and this valve, these valves which drains blood into the ventricles, we call them atrioventricular valve. To be specific, we call this one the tricuspid valve, okay? Then we call the other one the bicuspid valve or the mitral valve. Okay. So once blood reaches in the right atrium, it drains into the right ventricle. Remember, the function of the valve is so that to allow not to allow blood to go to get back where it was coming from, to prevent the backflow of blood. So once blood goes into the right atrium, the right ventricle, it will not go back because there is what we call tricuspid valve here. Okay. Same concept with on the left. Since it carries oxygenated blood, blood will come from the pulmonary, will come from the lungs and pass through the pulmonary veins so that pulmonary veins connect to the to the left atrium. Then from here, blood goes into the ventricle, left ventricle. Okay. Then now there are also valves here. Okay. Along this pulmonary trunk, There's a valve here on the deoxygenated blood. We call these two valves the semilunar valve. Okay. Semilunar valve, but to be specific, we call this pulmotic valve, and the other one we call it the aortic valve. Okay. So the entire essence is that for this blood to be distributed to the or to be sent to the lungs via the pulmonary artery, what should happen is that they should open this valve, and for this oxygenated blood to be distributed across the body, they should open this valve so that it can go. Once blood goes, then this valve closes. So in cardiovascular, when we'll be talking about the cardiac cycle, how does the blood move? So we must know to say that these atria, the chambers, we have two atria and two ventricles. This atria is the one, these two atrias are the ones which receive blood first, then sent into the ventricles. Then from there, that's when it can either be distributed across the body or it can be sent to the lungs for purification. Okay. So you must familiarize yourself with valves which around actually. Okay. Then the other component that you should know under the cardiovascular before understanding concept is we must describe the cardiac muscle. Okay. So cardiac muscle is a little bit unique from the skeletal muscle. Okay. Because cardiac muscle conduct some unique functions. Okay. So just looking at the nucleus, cardiac muscle are actually mononucleated. The nucleus, in other words, they are centrally located. Unlike when we look at the skeletal muscle, the nucleus are peripherally located. So these nucleus, they usually found at the center of the muscle, unlike in the skeletal muscle. Okay. Then the other unique feature that the cardiac muscle have is that they have the intercalated discs. What do these integrated discs have is that their property is to make sure that they hold these cardiac muscles. You know, these cardiac muscles are simple units. They need to be combined together for them to, cardiomyocytes need to combine together so that they form the cardiac muscles. So these cardiomyocytes are held from cell to cell by integrated discs. So these integrated discs, they make sure that they hold them firm. From there, we can conclude to say that we have what we call syncytium. So syncytium is nothing complicated, but it just describes the ability of the atrium contracting together during systole and the ventricles contracting together during systole. Why? Because they have integrated discs, more like they are well confined together, like they are firmly attached. Okay, so the muscles that are around the atrium separate from the muscles that are around the ventricles by what we call atrioventricular ring, so that whenever there's depolarization in the cells, they do not contract together. Okay, they do not contract together. First, the atrium contract first to allow complete filling of the ventricles. Then from there, that's when the ventricles now are going to contract so they can push blood. Okay, remember dual circulation. Either this blood is going to go to the lungs via the pulmonary artery, that is when it is moving from the right ventricle, or to the entire body via the aorta, that is if this blood is being pumped from the left ventricle. Okay, so that was the cardiac muscle, actually the cardiomyocyte. Okay, so I hope this video was help to build the background of cardiovascular system, because if you lack this concept, you can have issues understanding some concepts in the cardiovascular system. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure that you like the video and subscribe at the end. Thank you very much for your time.